Animal Well redefines exploration in video games. Hi, my name is Kurosh, and welcome to another episode of the KJP Show, where we like to celebrate and elevate indie games and game developers. I'm your host, and today we're going to be talking about a game that I've been spending a lot of time with, and I've been very eager to talk about in some fashion on this show, Animal Well. This game is an indie game developed by Shared Memory, largely developed by the individual developer Billy Basso, who I had the pleasure of meeting at PAX West 2023. And that kind of gives you a little bit of how long this game has been around and been gestating. If those of you are familiar on the YouTube space, Video Game Donkey and his publishing studio Big Mode was the original reason this game had been brought to light, brought to surface for many to see and to hear about, as the first game under his publishing company, Big Mode. And so since then, I believe that was like 1 or 2 years ago, it's been kind of like ominous or mysterious as to what it exactly is, besides kind of a retro pixelated gameplay of something different. And it's always, since then, it piqued my interest in the way that Video Game Donkey had described it. It was something that I was always interested in, but never knew exactly what or why. I finally got a chance to get a better understanding of that last year at PAX West 2023 in Seattle, where they had a demo available, and Billy was there as well to talk about it when he had time. He was very busy at the convention, rightfully so, but getting a chance to try the game and experiencing it first there gave me an early indication that my curiosities were valid, in that it was the type of game where it wasn't going to be kind of run-of-the-mill similar to anything else. It was very much an exploration, and eerie would be a light way of putting it, but there's an air of mystery, and that's what I think lends itself to the eeriness that it had. You run through as this little, I don't exactly know even what you are. You're just a little fuzzy ball, like maybe like a Karibo if you're familiar with Yu-Gi-Oh, but you're just this little creature that runs around and bounces and just runs and explores, essentially. And there's other creatures and critters, and that's all I really experienced when I was at PAX. The game then comes out this year in 2024. It's out, available, I believe, on all platforms. I played largely on Steam. That's where I purchased it, but I played handheld, and I think that's where I'm just biased. I think at this point, portable is how I like to play, but it's available on any way to play. I should stop saying it lends itself best on portable, but it is great on portable. It was great on Steam Deck. I played that completely on Steam Deck, and that door opened up even more of what that mystery was. As I'm going through this game, and essentially, it's hard to describe what it is. It's exploration. The game is just you as this little creature exploring kind of a Metroidvania-esque space where it's just this map of connecting rooms and spaces, and you're just trying to figure out how to get to the next space, or how to get to little buttons or little treasure boxes. What any of them mean, you really don't have a strong understanding of. And that's where I think if it were any other game, it would deter you. It would not really feel good just finding random stuff. But the way this sets out, it's almost just a sense of fascination. And as I said, and I will continue saying, exploration. You're just discovering all the time how the world interacts with you, how it doesn't interact with you, what is possible, what isn't possible. It does it on this old retro feel vibe. I feel like, I'm at a loss a little bit about my words because it's hard to describe in some ways, but I think in some ways it's kind of like how Zelda Breath of the Wild made you question certain things, made you question what is and isn't capable in that world. This does that in its own way, and it's very fascinating, and there's a sensation that correlates with it. I found that as you go through the game, there is a premise of sorts. As you're discovering things, there's kind of an air of mystery and a sense of almost like an escape room where there's puzzles to be solved. You're not quite sure how to solve them. I honestly can say that most of the puzzles that made the biggest shift in capabilities for me of what I was able to do, I solved by accident. I was just pressing a few buttons trying to see what does what, and I stumbled upon entryways or pathways or even just abilities. You get a few items in your inventory at the start of the early in the game that ranged from like a little bubble machine or a bubble maker thing to yo-yos to slinkies, and you're not sure exactly what you're supposed to do with them, but as you reach new areas, you're starting to wonder, wait, I could put the slinky here and it holds that button down, and the bubbles, I guess, as they float, I can jump on them, and you just start piecing together the capabilities of what you can do in this world and what the world is allowing you to do. And that combination just it just further rewards you, and it almost feels like it's endless because you keep going, and I kept finding new ways to do things as I went through. I will have to say there is a point where, and it's probably my only gripe, is that sense of exploration and discovery is almost too, I don't know if it's overwhelming, but it definitely got to the point where I questioned everything. I didn't know, there were a lot of times where I was frozen with paralysis of like, I don't know what I'm supposed to do here. I have 8 different things at my disposal. Do I even question if I'm supposed to get a 9th thing? What do I do with these 8 things? And I will admit, I did have to go to a few guides myself. I'm not the brightest kid in the box, and I know that there's some times where that's like frowned upon, but I'm like, hey, if you want to have fun and there's guides out there, go for it. So I looked at a few just to figure out a puzzle or two, and I was like, I was supposed to figure that out? Like, and it blew my mind to a degree. I love that it was there, and I love that it challenged me, but in some areas I was almost like, this seems way over my capabilities and my ability. And so it's not a knock on it, it was more just an observation of what I was able to do versus what it was asking of me or thinking that I was able to piece together. And I think, though, it kind of is part of the package in that sense of when you want a full space of exploration, that's what this is giving you in all bells and shapes and forms and stuff. And so I guess that kind of brings me to my conclusion and my overall thoughts on this. I would definitely want to give this game a grade. I give this an A-. It's fantastic. I very much loved it. Again, the minus is really there just as some of those areas I felt like the cues or how I was supposed to figure it out for me personally. That was my personal experience of what that could be. But I loved everything it did. I wanted to see more of it, and it gave me more of it. I've only completed one, quote unquote, I reached the credits, but there's much more beyond the credits that you could go back for, and that is allegedly from friends that I've heard that have done the other stuff after. There are more story elements and more things to figure out and more puzzles to figure out. And that's what it really is it's just a lot of puzzles and a lot of exploration, and credits don't really mean too much. So I think your mileage may vary. Just go to the point that you feel is viable for you and enjoy it for the ride that it has. I think that is its strength, and that is why I love it so much, and I love what it's doing. I don't think enough games do that, and Animal Well does it in spades. And so I'd like to applaud Shared Memory for what they've done with this game. It may seem like a small endeavor, but I think what it does design-wise and concept-wise is so grand in a lot of ways that you're lucky to see some games have even a fraction of the level of like creativity and complexity that it presents to you as a player. And it does it in such a great way. And I know he spent many years working on this game, so recognize that credit and that work that it paid off, I think. And I, again, had a pleasure of playing it. I'm glad I hit some level of credits that gave me a little sense of like, I accomplished something. Albeit I did need some clues, a lot of clues along the way. But very much enjoyed it. Thank you for creating the game. I appreciated that. And that's my review of the game. That it was an A- for me. I know he had worked many years on this game, and so I think that goes well recognized, and this game has done amazingly. And the reviews as a whole, I've just been seeing how they've been doing. Applause across the board, well deserved. I'm excited to see the next things that Shared Memory develops and puts together. I think there's a wealth of creativity there, and just a basis of like whether it be more of these sorts of games or other types of games altogether. I'm very interested and curious to see what they bring to the space and just bring to indie games as a whole. And yeah, that's my review. And that is my review of Animal Well. Thank you for joining me. Let me know if any of this sounded interesting to you or if you're curious about any of this. I'm always curious about what others think of these games as well. This is a shared space. I'm merely just sharing my thoughts. I'm always curious what others think of these games as well, or what they're curious about, or what they're interested in, or what appeals to them. If you've played it, I'd love to hear from you and what your experience was like, because I'd imagine a lot of this lends to that way of Breath of the Wild, where your way of exploration very much might differ from how I explored and found different things. So let me know what you think. And my name is KujoPrime, and thank you again for joining me for another episode of the KJP Show. As always, I'll catch you on the next one, and have a good rest of your day.